Hello everyone, I'm FARMERSIM. Welcome back to Iowa Cattle. I do hope you're all doing very well and having a great day. So we're just out working up here in field 16, just behind the wing mirror there. You can see I've got a worker running my big fent with the baler, just helping me get the job done a little bit quicker, because it is a time-consuming affair, obviously going back and to the farm. But yeah, so as you can see, they're working away, running the baler. I've already ran, as you can see, everything's, well, it's all been tedded up, it's rowed up, and I'm just in the middle of getting a few of these bales picked up and get them all back to the farm, loaded into the bale barn. Now we're still in September. Weather forecast for the rest of the day it's given rain for about 2 hours or so from about 9 o'clock this evening, so I do feel like I've still got quite a lot of work to do to try and get done before that rain kicks in. I do still want to spread some lime, or still do need to spread some lime in this field and a couple of the other grass fields. This is the smallest one. The other ones are going to take quite a while, I think, and they're going to take quite a bit of lime. And as a result of quite a bit of lime, quite a bit of money as well, because they are thirsty things at the end of the day. They do take up quite a lot of lime, but it needs to be done. We need to increase the pH levels of the soil properly. Now we've got precision farming running on the save, so I do need to keep my mind on keeping the yield up in our fields as much as possible. Right, I think that's us just waiting for a few more bales to come out of the back of that tractor there. So yeah, awesome stuff. But one thing I did want to talk about, and this has taken me a little bit of time to really understand and make this decision on, and what I've decided to do is regarding realistic livestock. Now I've decided to turn it off for this series. Now bear with me, and don't get me wrong, I don't want to. Part of me doesn't want to anyway, but part of me kind of does as well, and that's purely because of the sheer quantity of cattle that we've got at the minute, and that I'm planning to have in the future, and because also of the way I initially set this series out and the little plan I had moving forward, in respect of how it was going to work. And one of the main reasons why I've done that is because realistic livestock individualizes each of your cattle and gives them, you know, as I'm sure most of you are aware by now, with it being out for a little bit, it individualizes all the cattle. So when you go into your pasture menu or your cow barn menu, if you've got 20 cattle, you'll see 20 cattle in the list, and you have to deal with them individually based on their weight and all that kind of stuff. Look after them. Their health is, each of the cattle's health is entirely different, between each other, and that's great. Don't get me wrong; it's absolutely brilliant. The mod is there's nothing wrong with the mod, and one of the main reasons, or I'll go through the reasons, Candace. So the plan I have in mind in the near future as well, as I mentioned a couple of episodes ago, is I've created another pasture on the far east side of the map, and that can hold up to 1,090 cattle. Now, I'm not necessarily going to be filling that with 1,090 cattle, but can you just imagine going into a pasture menu and having a list of 1,000 cattle, all individualised, and you needing to go through each of those and determine selling some of them if their health is bad and this, that and the other? Can you imagine just the amount of time it's going to take just to do that alone, let alone, moving them about or anything like that? And also, because of the way that realistic livestock works, and obviously, it brings the whole maintenance of your cattle to a very realistic level, in that obviously your cows don't produce calves unless they're pregnant with bulls, of course. They don't lactate and produce milk unless they're pregnant. And so obviously, but the whole purpose of this series was to be a relatively large dairy farm producing milk and making money from the milk, and moving forward seeing what we can do financially from the income from the milk and all that kind of stuff. But because the limitations for me on this series, I feel, in respect of the time it takes to have one cow reproduce a calf and not produce milk until it's produced a calf, and then having to move it during winter from the pasture to the cow barn, that's one massive thing in of itself. And obviously the whole purpose of this series was, I've got a breeding barn over at the farm. That's the barn for them to produce calves on. not in the pastures. So I'm going to be massively reducing the amount of milk that this dairy farm, in inverted commas, would produce if I was to keep realistic livestock on, because obviously, you know, do you see what I mean? So if I've got my 350 calves in one of my pastures, 350 cattle in one of my pastures, for example, none of those technically would be producing milk, because they're not breeding and they're not going to be calving in the pasture. But the whole purpose of it was to earn money from milk that they would produce within the pasture. And don't get me wrong, I know that's not 100% realistic. It's just the mechanics of Farming Simulator and what it would allow me to do. So having realistic livestock turned on, if I've got, you know, essentially I've got 300 and something cattle across 2 pastures at the minute, none of those are going to be producing milk for me at all, technically, because they're not going to be calving, because there's no bulls in the pasture, and they wouldn't. Do you know what I mean? Do you see where my mind's going with it? So there was a huge amount of realism that I was really keen to take advantage of from realistic livestock. But then the limitations that was going to provide me in this particular series, even at the minute, with the quantity of cattle that I've got on the farm, it was essentially going to put a massive stopper on the milk that we were going to be producing, purely because of the mechanics of the mod. So reluctantly, in a way, like I say, I've turned it off just so that I can progress forward. I've spent a lot of time thinking about this. In this day that I'm living in at the minute, it's taken me, I've sat here and I've fiddled around with things for several hours before hitting record, because I've wanted to make sure that I'm happy with the decision that I've made. And I kind of am. I am, because like I say, I want to progress forward, I want to move forward, I need to make money from the cows and their milk. Obviously, as a result of the last episode, spending loads and loads of money on soil sampling and all that kind of stuff, and the lime as well. You know, after selling the big Fendt tractor, we had a few $100,000 in the bank. Now I'm down to 60,000. I'm likely going to have to spend a little bit more money on top of that to keep these fields topped up with lime. And then moving forward into the future, the plan I had with expanding and placing down a handful of cow barns is going to mean getting several $100,000 into debt. Depending, it's going to be down to the timing of things, obviously, because I'm not going to be able to get to the harvest of the corn and the soybeans yet and make the money I need from those crops before doing all the shifting around with the cattle. And do you know what I mean? So it's a massive thing, and I've really had to think about which direction I'm going to go with it. So realistic livestock's an incredible mod, don't get me wrong. I'm not taking from it, I'm not saying there's a problem with it and I don't want to use it because it's broken or anything like that. The mod is in its infancy, but Arrow, the mod creator, is clearly an extremely gifted mod maker and a script writer, as it were. And it's going to be brilliant for other series. I know that, you know, back on Palanier, for example, it'll be fine because the number of cattle we have is far less than what we've got here. But for me and my skill set, I suppose, and my knowledge of dairy farming and this series and the sheer quantity of cattle that we've got, I feel at the minute it's probably going to be better for me to turn livestock off, realistic livestock off, and just progress forward. Now, I'm not saying I may turn it back on in the future, depending on how updates come about for the mod. We will see. That's me at full capacity now, so we need to get this one taken back to the farm. There we go. Get this load taken. We've still got a few more to pick up, of course. But yeah, so I hope you all kind of agree and understand where my mindset is with this. Like I say, I'm not shy of doing the work, but can you just imagine trying to scroll through a list of, say for example, I put 900 cattle in that massive pasture that I've created on the east side of the map. Can you imagine just scrolling through 900 cattle and trying to, you know, and looking at the list? Because I've known for the last few days that I have needed to read up and learn about what realistic livestock brings to the game, and in a roundabout way, Scroft has helped me do that by one of his latest videos. He put out a really helpful, detailed video on essentially the basics of realistic livestock and what it does and what it brings to the game. And I watched through that video intently, and it taught me a lot about what the livestock mod brings to the game. And like I said, it's absolutely brilliant. I'm not taking from it whatsoever, but it just made me think a bit, because I was watching him go through his list of cattle that he had in his particular farm and trying to isolate and sell the ones that were of relative bad health. And of the number of cattle that he had on his particular farm, it was, you know, it was because they're all individualized with numbers, essentially with ID numbers. It was a case of, right, look at this particular ID number, this is one I want to sell. And the menus didn't allow you to sell. You had to go from one menu to another to sell them. And again, can you imagine doing that with several hundred head of cattle, let alone, you know, 700, 800, 900, even 1,000 if I do end up having a huge amount in my big pasture over there. So it just made me go, do you know what, I am going to have to rethink this and just think, you know, I want to do things as realistically as possible. I don't want to be, you know, doing things in a silly way on this series. I do want to try and do things in a fun way that's fun for me, fun for you guys to watch as well, hopefully. You know, I can only hope that that's the case. But at the same time, I don't want to be spending literally hours off camera going through lists of cattle and finding out which ones are healthy and which ones aren't, and then having to jot down a list of 300 ID numbers of the ones that I want to sell. So based on all of that, that's where I've decided to go, do you know what, no, it's it's just gonna be a lot simpler and a lot more straightforward for me to turn realistic livestock off and go from there, and just carry on as we were from the beginning before realistic livestock came out. So I do hope you're all on board with me in that respect. I'm not chickening out. I'm not, you know, it's not out of laziness or lack of interest in the mod. I will be keeping realistic livestock running over on Oak Bridge Chronicles and on Palanier, and no doubt any other series that I start in the future, assuming I don't have hundreds and hundreds of cattle on the farm. It's just going to be entirely specific to this series at the minute with the amount of cattle that we've got. So there we go. Relatively brief explanation as to why I've done what I've done. Like I say, I do hope you're all on board with the idea. But anyway, so we're cracking on. Like I say, it's 10 to 4 in the afternoon now, so I've got essentially 5 hours, I feel, because I want to get the lime spread on the fields, on the soil, while in the fields that I've got to spread lime into anyway, while the crops haven't regrown. The grass in this particular instance, while it hasn't regrown again, I feel that is the correct time to throw the lime on the field and get it done. We do also still need to increase the nitrogen levels as well, and that'll be using a bit of manure and slurry. To be fair as well, now is still the correct time to do that as well, but I still feel that time-wise I'm going to be pushing myself, I think, to be able to get all the empty fields limed and spread with slurry and nitrogen before midnight, essentially. Let's drop those there. There we go. Do you know what I mean? So let's just turn that off there and get these bales loaded into the shed. What have we got in here at the minute? I need to remind myself. I think it's 96. Yeah, 96 bales. Not too sure exactly what we've got off the whole field yet. Obviously, having not done it, but we've got another 14 here. So that's 110 bales so far. But we just need to get them loaded in. So yeah, the rest of the episode carrying on initially anyway is going to be focused on sorting out the lime in the other 2 or 3 fields I've got. Let me just jump into the menu and just remind myself. So obviously we did field 3 here in the last episode. I need to spread some lime in field 16. I have already done field 9 over here off camera earlier just to see how it went. So I've got that one done, but we do still need to spread lime in field 11 here and in field 1 here as well. It may not need too much, obviously, based on the soil types that we've now got the data for from precision farming, but I feel it's the right thing to do just to get that pH level up to the absolute best it can be in order for me to increase the yield as best as possible. So I'm going to try something a little bit risky here, picking up 4 bales. without them. You see, as soon as I pick them up, they start jiggling around. Quite nerve-wracking. No, don't bounce off. Don't do anything. Don't knock my pile over. Let me just... There we go. Gently get them in there. It's quite nerve-wracking when bales start to bounce like that, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? I'm sure we've all experienced it at some point. But now I know that based on the height of the stack, I can just take this top two off. Still having a bit of a jiggle around, aren't they? But at least now I know I can drop them in there like that. And then I should just be able to grab this whole stack and very slowly and gently just shove them in, essentially. Come on, telehandler. You've got the oomph for it. There we go. Nice. That'll do for me. Come on. Off you get. Off you get. Come on. There we go. Nice. That'll do. That'll do. Right, so I'm going to crack on with this, and what I think I might do is jump into a bit of a time lapse, just with what we've got left to do now. We'll go and get the last of these bales picked up, and then I'll throw a bit of the lime spreading into a time lapse as well, and I will pick you up. I think I will probably pick you up in first thing in the morning when all the jobs are done, when the liming's done at least, and all the bales are in the shed. And I think what we'll be doing then is cracking on with a bit of manure spreading or slurry spreading in the grass fields, and just bring up the yield there as well. Now, one thing that has happened as a direct result of me turning realistic livestock off is we've already now got it's automatically just reappeared in the menu there, but we've got about 4,500 litres of milk in each of the pastures that's there ready for me to sell, and at the minute it's worth about 12 grand, which is exactly what we need, obviously, with the money dropping down to what it is now as a result of the escapades of the last episode and the cost of the lime that it's likely going to incur into this evening spreading lime in the last 3 fields. We really need that income, and I wouldn't have had that if I'd have kept realistic livestock turned off. It would have been months and months and months before I'd have seen a drop of milk on the farm, essentially. And that's not taking into account the fact that I'd been moving cattle around from the pasture to the barn, for example, and then I'd have had to wait for their productivity levels to go from 0 back up to 100% again. So it's, yeah, like I said, I think it's I feel I have made, for the purposes of this series on its own, I think I've made the right decision. But do let me know what you think in the comments, though, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you know that I'm not going soft, and I'm not being weak and being afraid of a bit of work and all that. But I think on this farm, with the quantity of cattle we've got, it was going to be quite a considerable job just managing the menus alone, let alone anything else. So anyhow, right. So I'm just going to remove a couple of things there. Oh, and also onwards, before I do crack on with this time lapse, one thing I did not necessarily fix, but I was having a bit of a faff around before off camera, and at the end of the last episode, when I was running the lime spreader in the field, Precision Farming at the time wasn't displaying the pH values in the mini-map in the bottom left. I've actually just turned off contract boost mod, and all of a sudden I've got the pH values are back in the mini-map heads-up display in the bottom left-hand corner. I don't know if the two are... I don't know if that is a direct result of it. I don't believe there's been an update to Precision Farming yet. That's all I did because I was having a bit of a faff around trying to figure out how to earn money, and it was there was a couple of irrigation contracts that came up, and using the slurry tankers as water sprayers. So just to test, I took on that contract. It was paying about $60,000, so I thought, I can't turn this down, but it wouldn't allow me to do it. I could fill the slurry tanker up with water, take on the contract, go into the field, turn on the slurry tanker, and I could see the levels of water was dropping down, but it was making absolutely no difference to the irrigation contract. It wasn't getting me anywhere with it. And in the realistic weather menu, where you can turn on your field irrigation, I can obviously turn on field irrigation for my own fields, and the option is there to turn on irrigation for fields you don't own, but for me it just didn't work. So I couldn't get anywhere with the irrigation contract. So unfortunately, that's also what took me down another route of, you know, trying to figure out how I'm going to earn any kind of money at all moving into the future, with no milk for months and months and months. So yeah, like I said, there's been a lot of thought into going into the best decision to make for this series on its own kind of thing. But yeah, so anyway, good news in the fact that we've got the heads-up display mini-map is back up and running again for precision farming, for the lime at least anyway, so that was great. So we've only got, what have we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, and possibly anything that's left in the baler there. So, like I said, I'm going to carry on now into a bit of a time lapse, get and start getting some lime spread in our empty fields, and I'll pick you all up in a wee while's time.
Walking home late at night, maybe 2:30. A little drunk, but I'm alright, 'cause I've been hanging with you, and it feels like love. Tell me if I'm wrong, 'cause it feels like love. Yeah, it feels like love. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Don't know what you do, but you make me feel fine. And you can't deny we are not just killing time. You should let me know if you want this true. Baby, you just make me feel crazy. A little crazy for you. Yeah. I think about you and I want you here with me. Am I out of my mind, or is this how it should be? You made me sing about love, so just tell me if I'm wrong, but it feels like love. Yeah, it feels like love. Yeah. Don't know what you do, but you make me feel fine. And you can't deny we are not just killing time. You should let me know if you want this true. Baby, you just make me feel crazy. A little crazy for you. A little crazy for you. Hey. A little crazy for you now. A little crazy for you now, baby. I'm a little crazy for you now. A little crazy for you now. A little crazy for you now, baby. Don't know what you do, but you make me feel fine. And you can't deny we are not just killing time. You should let me know if you want this true. Baby, you just make me feel crazy. A little crazy for you. I feel crazy. A little crazy for you, baby. Yeah, yeah. Little crazy for you now. Oh, yeah, crazy for you.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to October. So I finished off around about 7 or 8 o'clock last night getting all the liming done, but good job, well done, I've got to say. Of all the fields that we had to do, they're all done. So if I jump into the menu again, just to very quickly show you. Now, I still can't get my head around what the stripy pattern is that's being left by my lime spreader. I don't know if it's particular to my lime spreader, but every field that I've worked in, and it's nothing to do with courseplay, because, for example, field 9 up here, I did this one myself, the alfalfa field. I did that myself without courseplay, and it's still left a stripy pattern to it. It's like it applies the central area of the spread of the lime spreader. It's like it applies the central area stronger than the outer edges, if that makes any sense. So the only thing it might be down to is because I've got the 18-meter addition to the lime tank spreader, the big arms. So it makes it an 18-meter spread, whereas by standard it's 12 meters. Whether that's got something to do with it or not, I really don't know. I just can't get my head around it, but it does it either way, and it does it in every field. So please let me know in the comments. Actually, it'd be interesting to know if anyone else has that same visual issue or not. Either way, the numbers are still okay. The pH values are now brought up to a much better level than what they were, so that's all that matters. I'm doing the right thing, looking after my soil, trying to get as best yield as possible. But now we're in October. All the grass has started to regrow. The alfalfa here has started to regrow. Forgive me, I'm driving off without thinking what I'm doing, because I want to be picking up our milk tanker, because we have got about $20,000 worth of milk now to sell. So and we wouldn't have had that if I'd have left realistic livestock on. So I've been the last couple of hours while I've been doing that lime job, getting it all done, I have been kind of thinking things over, mulling things over in my head, and I have convinced myself that I've made the right decision on this series in particular. Just, again, forgive me for repeating myself, but just purely because of the sheer quantities of cattle that we've got now, and that we're likely to have in the near future. I just feel that turning that particular mod off, just for now at least anyway, is the best thing to do. So let's fill this up. I'm hoping I should be able to get both pastures worth. Yeah, there we go. I should get both pastures worth of milk into here and to be able to get it sold, which is great. But the cows are doing all right. I did top them up with water off camera as well before going to sleep last night and waking up into October. So everything is ticking by just as I'd expect it to be. But now moving forward into October, the jobs that we have got to do in October, there's not a huge amount to do, but I do need to spread manure or slurry in the 3 grass fields that we worked in recently with the lime spreader. I need to bring up the nitrogen levels of the soil there to get as much yield as possible from the grass. And then it's a case, at the minute anyway, once we've got the nitrogen levels brought up in those fields, what I then need to do, because November's obviously round the corner, and November's going to be a very, very busy month. We're going to have to start with the harvests. Now all the cornfields are going to be ready to harvest, and I think the soybeans as well. Let me just jump into the menu and just remind myself. So growth, as you can see, everyone's dark green there. So when I go to the calendar, where's my mouse gone there? So corn harvest season is October and November. So yeah, it's going to be November for the corn, and for the soybeans it's October and November as well. So it's going to be a very, very busy month. Now the soybeans, if I wanted to get some quick money into the bank, I think I might sell the soybeans straight away. All of our arable land at the minute is cash crop. As I mentioned an episode or so ago, we're going to be harvesting the corn, and we're going to be taking all of it into our corn dryer and drying it off, and then when all that's done, then I'll be able to sell it straight away and just get a bit more money per 1,000 litres per bushel or whatever, because we need it, don't we, really? Down to $31,670 now. We spent a lot of money on lime getting that job done. So yeah, I really do need to consider sorting out the bank balance and getting that topped up. So the soybeans, as I say, are going to we're going to sell those straight away. Is that my grass field? That's my soybeans, isn't it? Forgive me. Let me just jump out and have a quick peek. Yeah, and we've got some weeds. Goodness me. Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, we could do with spraying some herbicide in there, couldn't we? But I don't have a sprayer, so we might have to just take a hit on that as well. Again, these are the fields that the game gave us to start off with. I know I could run a sprayer, but I don't have one. I could lease one, I suppose. That might be something to, another job to squeeze in. In fact, it might be worthwhile considering that, mightn't it? We shall see. Another job to add onto the list. But yeah, so we'll be selling the soybeans straight away, get as much money as we can in the bank. Because it's such a big field, I know we won't get top asking price for them, but because it's such a big field, we should still get quite a decent amount of money selling it straight away, and then that'll bring up the bank balance. And then, and as I say, we'll sort the corn out, get that thrown into the corn dryer, wait a wee while for that to dry off, and go from there. So yeah, lots to consider, lots to do. Grass is regrowing again, which is great. But the other thing that we're going to have to do in October is to prepare the cow barn for the addition of the cows come the end of November. I've got 3-day months on now. I did start the series with 5, but I kind of thought maybe that might be a bit too much, so I dialed that down to 3. So essentially, I think at the minute, the first 2 days of November are going to be spent harvesting all the corn and all the soybeans, and then the 3rd day of November is going to be pretty much in the truck, moving the cattle from the pastures into the cow barn, which hopefully should be full of silage and full of hay and full of straw, ready to receive them. And obviously I need to do the harvesting first, because we'll get straw from the harvest. So where's my milk trigger? I seem to remember this being a bit funny, actually. If I'm going to need to pull up to the left hand side here somewhere. There we go, that's better. That's the one. Fill that up. There we go, that'll do, that'll do. And this time I need to not forget to close my gate. But then when we come to sell the soybeans straight away, that will give me a little bit of a better idea as to how much money I'm going to need when it comes to when we've emptied this pasture and I start thinking about the expansion and adding in a handful more cow barns. That's where I'm going to get a better idea of how much money I'm going to need. I did want to stick with BSL Modding's cow barn, the one that we've got on the main farm at the minute, but because they are £250,000 each, $250,000, sorry, I kind of figured maybe I should reconsider and just have a look and see if there's any cheaper alternatives. And again, it'd be nice to have, I suppose, to have a bit of variety on the farm, a few different cow barns. So I am going to keep my eye out for something that still holds a lot of cows, and but something that might be a little bit more affordable. But as long as I do I do a bit of planning and get an idea of what it is that I'd like and place it, just get an idea of where things are going to sit on that plot of land, and also consider the amount of cattle that I'd like to have in the future moving forward, being able to sort that pasture out on the far east side of the map that can hold almost up to 1,090 cattle. So because once we get that, not full, but once we get a lot of cattle into there, our income could increase massively, quite frankly. And that was something that was going through my head as well when I was considering turning off realistic livestock, was trying to play around with ideas of how I can supplement our income instead of just relying on our milk that we'd get like we have done here. With realistic livestock on, we wouldn't be getting this for a very, very long time. It would take a long time to get even the first drop of milk. So I was trying to think about how I'd be able to get a bit more money in the bank. I was considering buying one of those solar panel generators that gives you an hourly income, but the big one, the one that's worth writing home about, that's just under $94,000, I think. So I've had to get a loan for that. So and I own most of the land on the map. I thought about chickens and stuff, but I thought, well, no, that's diverting away from the purpose of this series, was to run a dairy farm. As soon as I have to start diversifying, which I know is perfectly normal, diversifying is fine, keeping up with times and stuff like that. There we go, 20,754, I think. I don't know. Either way, decent amount of money there. So we're now at $52,421. That's all good. There we go. But yeah, so there's been, my brain's been hard at it thinking about this episode and what we've got coming forward. As I say, I'm just going to stop here, actually. As I say, I do hope you're on board with me with the whole idea of dropping realistic livestock. It's not out of laziness. It's not that I didn't like it or there was any problem with it whatsoever. It's just that purely for this series, it just seemed the right thing to do. Otherwise, like I said before, and again, forgive me for repeating myself, but can you imagine scrolling through a list of 1,000 cattle in a pasture, trying to find ones that aren't particularly healthy, and then having to go into a different menu and find that same unique ID number and then sell that one? And that would take an enormously long time, wouldn't it, ladies and gentlemen? Let's be honest. But do you know what? I've just been made aware roughly in my mind of how long this episode has been going on for, so I think I am going to call it here for this episode, ladies and gentlemen. Like I say, the next episode we'll be sticking with October, and we're going to sort out increasing the nitrogen levels of the fields that we've got with the grass in. I am going to have to squeeze in that weeding job as well. I may well have to lease a sprayer and get hold of a bit of herbicide there and get rid of those weeds, because as much as I'm going to get rid of the soybeans almost straight away to get as some quick cash, essentially, easy for me to say, I could still do with making sure the yield is as good as it can be. And I can't, obviously, I'm not going to be throwing lime in there or anything like that, because that's not the right thing to do. But I can spray some herbicide in there. That seems like it's still an acceptable thing to do with the crop at its current growth stage. But yeah, for today's episode, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to call it here. Thank you very much for watching. I really do hope you have enjoyed the episode and found it a little bit of fun. As always, if you're new to the channel and you like my content, you like the way I'm doing things, please consider hitting that subscribe button and jumping on board, joining the channel. Please give the video a like if you can. It does do wonders. It helps the YouTube algorithm do its thing. And as always, there are a host of links in the video description below with my Giants Partner promo code. If any of you are in the market for purchasing Farming Simulator 25 and you like the idea of supporting the channel and helping out a creator, please consider using my Giants Partner promo code. On top of that, also, if any of you are in the market for an online server and you like the idea to play with your mates and you like the idea of supporting the channel and helping out a creator, please consider using my G-Portal affiliate link, which again will be in the video description below. Any help and support there also would be massively appreciated. So, thanks again for your time again, everyone. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.